Alright, hello everybody, welcome to SUPERVIVE, a Battle Royale MOBA game, and this is going to be a guide on how to build Carbine, the Cyborg Bounty Hunter, with a lot of CCs, shockingly enough, pun intended. But yeah, now the reason I'm making this video is that a lot of the Carbines I run into in games don't have great builds, usually. And I know this usually because I'm checking their death boxes, because I end up killing them first. But also, I usually almost never see Carbines in the final stages of a game. And that's because a lot of people, I think, tend to play him like more like a DPS than what he actually is, which is a sort of like longer ranged bruiser slash zoner character. And so what I'm going to be doing here today is I'm going to be showing you, well, my personal build for him and the theory behind it and how it works. So, I'm going to be going through these items in order, starting with grips, then kicks, then relics, then perks, and I'm going to skip over consumables because consumables are very much up in the air, I'd say, about which ones you're going to get in a game. It is quite possible for you to get fan and jump pad in one game, and then next game you get little cook and the codex, no, because that's a lot more rare, but like something like two-way teleporter, which means that you can very much just jump into somebody's face. So we're gonna do that. So first things first, as I said before, the main thing to understand about this character is, first off, pretty much all of his damage comes from his M1s, and second off, he's not a DPS, despite the fact that he might look like it and he might handle like it. If we will go over here and test his damage here, he does about 600 damage in a full magazine, which it's alright, but like this character right here, literally, this sniper character, more than that in a single M1 at the same level 15. Most other DPS, same amount, either from M1s or just abilities, and some of the deadlier enemies like Void, for example, the Void Mage, much higher damage output. So, if he isn't meant for DPS, and if you will see here, he has very long cooldowns. Like, most of his I don't think he has a single cooldown that is less than 10 seconds. So, if he's not meant to be like just flat out DPS, like M1 DPS like Felix is, for example, and if he's not an attack mage like, I forget the name, but the neon pink magician is, what is he for? Well, he's what I'd call a zoner, and this is a term coming from fighting games mostly. Basically, his entire idea is that he has, most of his moves are long ranged or meant to get people off of him or away from him. His entire thing is controlling the battlefield and basically saying to people, hey, if you're going to come through, like, this specific area, you're going to have a really bad time. I want you to come through this specific area. Now, what this means is that by doing this, what you can do is you control you can limit the flow of a fight, which is pretty damn useful, especially if you have other teammates, because what this means is that suddenly, let's say I put a shock trap here. I'll explain what shock trap does later on, but let's say I put this here. This lasts for like, what, 6 seconds or something like that? If the enemy has the storm at their back, or if they really want to kill us and everything, they're not going to walk through the shock trap because, well, shock trap stuns enemies that hit it, as the description says, which, if you have any level of competent teammates, that's basically just an instruction to shoot the heck out of them, and they will die very quickly. And having a teammate down is always a losing condition because you have to spend time reviving, you have to position differently, it lets the enemies flank you or put you in terrible positions. Overall, not worth it. So, by putting my shock trap here, I have done a very simple thing of saying, if you walk through this, you're most likely going to die or have to retreat and use a decent amount of healing options. So you're going to be forced to come through here. Well, why is this good? Well, what that means is that, let's take this island, for example. I'm pretty sure I can do this. What I can do is that, let's say I have a different player on my team and everything. They could come over here and wait in these bushes. Suddenly, the entire team, enemy team filters through here. They pop out of the bushes, bang. I come over here. My other team comes over here, and suddenly we've caught them in a pincer movement. And boom, we win the game. Or not win the game, but we win the fight because I was able to steer the enemies. Now, that being said, that is not how he's going to be played most of the time. That's kind of like the ideal situation. Most of the time, you're just going to be holding down M1 and shooting at people. And then occasionally steering where people go with traps and percussive blasts and stuff like that. So, if most of your damage and most of your power comes from your M1, how are you meant to use it? Honestly, the best way I found is you just shoot people, realistically. And, more specifically, don't mess with attack speed. For a couple of reasons. The problem is, if you take higher attack speed, you're going to be reloading a lot more often. And reloading is a fixed time, there's no way to speed it up. And there's also a time during which you can't do anything else, unlike other mages or other DPS characters, which have their M1s to deal damage, even if, even if their abilities are on cooldown, your M1 has its own, well, built-in internal cooldown, which is not very beneficial for you. Also, sorry about the Discord ping. So, what does that mean is that too much attack speed, and suddenly you don't have a weapon to defend yourself, because, yet again, all of your cooldowns are minimum 10 seconds, which means that if you have someone on your face, and everything, and, not really going to be beneficial. It also ties into the passive here, which pairs with the thrusters, but we'll get to that later. Now, the problem also goes in the opposite direction. If I take, for example, Rachel Gauntlet, which slows down my attack speed, it has the opposite issue of I'm not going to be reloading as much, but when I do reload, it's going to be in not necessarily advantageous moments, or if I do end up reloading, I'm going to have to manually reload because the delay between shots is so long. Also, actually, this is worse for you because, well, the passive, mostly. But I will get to that. Actually, I should probably explain the passive now. So this character has a very interesting passive called Enmity Core, which basically means that it hits on enemy hunters with your thing, partially refund the cooldown of thrusters. Now, the game doesn't tell you this. I tested it. It's about 2 seconds, which means that one magazine will, if you land the full magazine, it will cut off about 6 seconds from your thrusters, and taking into account the cooldown between shots and all of that, means that realistically, if you can hit all 3 bullets, your thrusters, this move specifically, keep in mind, jetpack is not thrusters. The passive affects this move specifically. It's realistically, like in a perfect situation, it's only going to ever be on like a 4-second cooldown, 3-second cooldown, which is pretty advantageous considering, no, that's the wrong move. This is thrusters, yeah, it's a short dash and everything, but also because of what it does to your gun, but I will get into that later. Now, the thing is that you have to actually be hitting enemies, and there is no cooldown on this whatsoever, which means that the more you shoot enemies, the shorter cooldown you have. Now, does this make bonus attack speed good? Yes. If you didn't have to reload. If you could just hold down M1 and keep shooting people, that would be great. Problem is, since you have to reload and everything, it's a lot more risky to have higher attack speed because, let's say, for example, I take this dummy over here. Now, keep in mind, this dummy doesn't actually trigger it for whatever reason. It's a bit annoying, but like, let's say I land all 3 shots here. This is just like a normal fight and everything. Boom, I've shaved 6 seconds off. Now, let's say I have trigger fingers here, which gives me bonus attack speed and everything. Bonus attack speed is great and all if you can hit your shots. Now, admittedly, if you're better at this character than I am, and you're able to consistently land your boosted shots, then yeah, it is good, because that means you'll be able to cut more and more time off your cooldown. If you're not, though, and I suspect most people aren't, you're just going to spend more time reloading, which means the more time you spend reloading is the less time you can spend shooting people, which means you have a longer cooldown of thrusters, which means you'll be in more danger, and your overall damage goes down over time, even though you have a quote-unquote higher attack speed. So, what do we want to take in that case? Well, the 2 best options I found are Longclaw Optics and Power Gauntlet. And I mean, it says Gorger Talons. I wouldn't recommend it. This character, I mean, he's fine with Omnivamp, but it doesn't realistically do enough for you to be worth it. So, why am I going to take these 2 options? Number 1, bonus range, always beneficial, mainly because of this gun's secondary passive. Which is the first shot from full magazine deals 91 bonus damage at long range. Now, keep in mind, this long range has a set distance. It's about, like, what? Where is this? How far away is this? It's not letting me see.
Let's go here.
Okay, I'd say this is, like, what, 10 meters or something like that? So, about 10 meters or something like that. Now, keep in mind, it is 10 meters and beyond. It's not between 10 and 20 meters and everything, which or anything like that, which means that the farther away I can be from my enemy, the more breathing room I have to be able to actually shoot said enemy and get the bonus damage. This is also beneficial because this character does not like people in his face, specifically because of the slow gun, the long cooldowns, and the lack of any reliable escape options. Most of his stuff can be CC'd, dodged, or ignored. So, the further away you can stay from your enemy while still being able to shoot them, absolutely ideal. And then Power Gauntlet is basically... Power Gauntlet is pretty much Rage Steel Gauntlet, but slightly better. You lose about, like, what, 4% attack damage, but in exchange you don't lose 20% attack speed, and like I said before, messing with attack speed, usually, unless you really know what you're doing with this character, not a good idea. So, that's the grips. Now, let's move on to the next thing, which is the kicks. And this is where I tend to see a number of people kind of about this. Most people I see go for phase striders, which would make sense. You get movement speed and you get dash haste, and this entire character is built around dashes, which I should get into. So, minor side thing here. His gun has a specific bonus, bonus feature where every time you use either thrusters or jetpacks, so either his ground dash or his air dash, he gains a bonus additional shot. Now keep in mind, this shot has a couple of special characteristics. One, it overfills your ammo. So as you can see here, I am going to hold on. So I have 3 ammo right now, and I'm going to use my left shift. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the ammo is stacked on top of it. Or alternatively, 1, 2, 3. There we go. And then the fourth shot came from me using jetpack midair. Even though I was quote unquote mid reload, I can force feed another round into my gun and get additional shots. The bonus shot also does a couple of other things. Number 1, it deals more damage. As you can see here, no, you can't see because hold on. So, as you can see here, alright, never mind. So it doesn't actually deal bonus damage. All it does is slow enemies, which, admittedly, is still really valuable because, keep in mind, a slow enemy is an enemy that's easier to hit, and an enemy that's easier to hit means that you can trigger your passive more often. And if you trigger your passive more often, what that means is that, well, you get more use of thrusters, which means more slowing shots, which means more damage. It's a cycle. The character's gameplay loop is pretty much hit people with the slow shots, cut down your, reduce your cooldown, and then repeat and repeat. So, as I was saying, most of the time, if you want to, you would think that this character wants dash haste because, well, pretty much all of his bonus damage shots and his slow shots, or more accurately, his crowd control comes from his dashes. I have to use both of my dashes to actually get these slowing shots on enemies. And I would say yes, but actually no. Now the thing is here, is that this is 10% dash haste. So as you can see here, if we buy this, this goes from 10.5 seconds to 9.8 seconds. Which, it's nice and all, but, I mean, it is not worth it. Let's be honest. 10% dash haste on such a long cooldown dash is not worth it. However, Bloodlust Boost is absolutely worth it. Now, the reason I prefer Bloodlust Boots over the other ones, these dash haste ones, is because, as you remember, this character has built-in dash haste. He cuts down 2 full seconds off of his dash every time he shoots his enemy. And when is it easier to shoot enemy? Well, when you're not stunned, when you're not taking damage, and when you have a clear line of sight. And all those 3 of those things are boosted when you are faster than your enemy. As you can see here, I shoot them a bit. I am much more nimble than I usually am, which is very good. Because this means that I can stay out of the way and I can use my dashes to queue up damage. And what this means is that if I'm harder to hit, I can spend more time focusing on shooting the enemies, which means I can get more dashes, which means I can get more slowing shots, which means I can cut more time off of my cooldown, and everything like that. That's the main reason I take Bloodlust Boots. I suppose you could make a case for these ones, but I don't think they are I don't think they're worth it at all. I suppose Recon Runners maybe, but no. I'd say Bloodlust Boots, they're going to be your best pick for this character, especially considering that hitting enemies is actually pretty easy. You have, a lot of range, Like, this is a sizable amount of range for a character, and he has fast bullets. They're not hit scan, but they are very fast. So that's the main reason I take those. Now, onto relics. Relics are weird. I'd say realistically there are about like 3 you can take despite all these options, which I know that's kind of depressing to hear. But honestly, this character just doesn't really have, like, none of the options in the store are really great for him. So the main 2 I pick are Harmonic Edge and Refractor. So, first off, Harmonic Edge, absolute must. Every 4th primary attack you do gains 50% bonus damage. Now, normally this is alright. I think most characters that benefit from, attack damage, or like that have powerful primary attacks, benefit from this. However, this guy benefits specifically from it because, as you remember, he gets bonus ammo from his moves. More specifically, he gets 4, or usually if you do a full magazine plus 1 ammo, that's 4 shots, which means that if I do, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, dash. Okay, I kind of messed up the order, but hold on. There you go. So let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. So, 1, 2, 3. And then boom, my bonus shot does extra damage. So, keeping in mind that most of the time, as long as you have good ability usage, his ammo rotation is going to be 4 shots. That means that usually either your very first shot, which is going to be the slowing shot. So depending on when you use the dashes, if you use them at the start of your 3 rounds or at the end of your 3 rounds, it's either going to be the very first shot that you shoot that has bonus damage, gets additional ammo. Or hold on, what is it? No, so it's that. Let's say. So if you remember, the first shot of the magazine gets bonus ammo, so damage. As you can see here, if I shoot it like that, then the next couple of rounds are going to just be normal rounds and everything like that. And then the 4th round is going to just refresh the cycle, so the first bullet of the next magazine is going to deal additional damage. Alternatively, if you do 1, 2, 3, and then you dash at the end of the magazine to get that last bonus ammo, what that means is that, whatchamacallit? What that means is that last shot, which slows, does additional damage, and also slows the enemy, which gives you time to reload your magazine and set up the next couple of shots. Now, overall, solid thing on this character. I'd say it's not super complicated. You basically just, it's bonus damage during your combos. You won't necessarily notice it a lot in fights, but you will feel it when you're fighting enemies that they tend to die a lot, tend to die moderately quicker. Now, next option, Refractor. Refractor is pretty nice. Now, the main benefit it gives, I think that the 8% primary attack damage is actually more beneficial than the passive it has, which is kind of funny, honestly enough. But, no. I suppose the other benefit of it is that it makes your, your PvE combat easier because you can just kind of automatically deal with side minions. And the fun thing about this character is that your slowing shots, these guys, like this one, the one that, I suppose, the slowing shots that you get from your thrusters and from your jetpack technically count as abilities, which means that you can, for relatively free, just basically keep shooting people, and, so basically, every time the enemy says staggerable, you don't have to use your right click or your Q or anything. You can just dash, shoot, and boom, it's going to trigger it. Which means that you can keep chunking down and focusing on the bosses whilst the minions just get cleared out. In larger team fights, it's also pretty decent. Like, let's say if you're hitting somebody with overkill rounds, or if you're just, like, poking enemies, you're, like, trying to hold down an area and everything like that. It's pretty good for chaining damage between targets and everything like that. And the beneficial thing is that this character has a slow enough attack speed that this little internal cooldown here of 0.3 seconds means that usually the first and then the 3rd bullet of your magazine are going to trigger it, if not the 2nd and then the 4th one. So it's pretty cool. Now, let's see. What other options are there for you? Thunderbolt is, I mean, I've gotten it to trigger once or twice. It's not reliable for this character. It's just it boosts ability damage and it deals. I mean, it's pretty good. You can get 250 damage on it triggering, but to trigger it, I'm pretty sure you have to hit them with percussive blast, and then so I'm pretty sure you have to shoot them, hit them with percussive blast, and then shoot them again, which is unreliable. And considering this is on a 12-second cooldown, it's also one of your only defense moves. Not great. Let's see. Black Rose. I mean, maybe if you want to go for like a, let's see, what would be like a maximum damage output per bullet build, where you go with Black Rose and you go Rage Steel Gauntlet, and then I suppose Sword of Seven Sins as well. Or no, I think you keep Harmonic and everything. It could work, but losing that attack range is basically, it would nullify the benefit of Long Claw Optics. Let's see, all these actives. I mean, grabbing a squid can be alright, but you already have so much mobility from the renewable dashes that, or the fact that you renew your own dashes, that it's not really needed. Guardian Angel, not really. I mean, Sunweaver early on, if you can afford it, I found to be pretty alright. Problem is, yet again, you have a very long cooldown on all of your abilities, which means that realistically, you're only getting this to trigger once every 5-10 seconds, and it only deals 84 damage at maximum level, which is nowhere near valuable enough. Now, the one I will recommend, however, as an alternative is Rampager, which is pretty good. Now, the damage bonus, it's alright. It's going to take a bit of time to build up because, yet again, you have slow bullets. Not slow bullets, but you have a slow attack speed, and you don't really hit enemies that much, which means that getting it stacked up and slow cooldowns that can't really hit many people means that it's going to take a bit to go up. However, the damage buff is useful. The Omnivamp is also quite nice, actually. And if you are going to take Rampager, then I would recommend that you drop Long Claw Optics, and then you take Gorge or Talons instead. So you get additional Omnivamp, and then you get additional Omnivamp, and hold on, where is it? You get additional Omnivamp, and then the Omnivamp can overheal and give you a temporary barrier, which is pretty useful. And then as for the rest of this stuff, I'd say maybe if you're a really good shot, Wildfire Drive could be alright, but for this actually trigger, you need to be in very close range to enemies, which is not where you want to be, so I'd say skip this and just go with Harmonic Edge and Refractor. And if you can't afford those items, or if your gold generation in the game is really not great, take Sunweaver instead of one of those. But Harmonica Edge is pretty much an absolute must. Okay. As for Relics, that's pretty much it. As for Perks, Perks is trickier because this one, I'd say the disclaimer is mostly that it's up to playstyle rather than anything else, because how you play this character and how you end up in fights or how you move, your accuracy and all of that will definitely impact what you pick, but I suppose I can show you what I take. So usually, if you can afford a discount sigil, always good. You can buy the rest of these items pretty cheap. You can also buy consumables and restocks on Shield and Vive Brew. It's always good to have. Let's see. As for other ones, Armor Shredder is pretty good. You don't deal the most damage, but you do deal a pretty reliable amount of damage. And if you can get a like a dash bullet onto an enemy in the start of a fight, that means you'll most likely be able to hit the rest of the magazine, or you can at least hit some of the following magazine, which means that usually you can hit them, you can land about 1,000 damage on them, which is like a third to half of their health bar, and being able to cut through that is pretty alright. However, it doesn't really last that long, so unless you're starting to fight with opening rounds, or not opening rounds, if you're starting to fight with overkill rounds, maybe, but I'd say that's not the best use of overkill. Contract Killer can be fun, although realistically, yet again, you're not a DPS, so you're not going to be getting kills that much. Assists, you do get a lot of assists on this character, so that could be interesting if you're paired with a duo that's playing an assassin character, or if you find that you keep getting assists but you can't really quite secure kills, and if you haven't had a lot of time to farm gold from vaults or from whatchamacallit, just the minions and other various PvE enemies, then Contract Killer can be pretty good. Now, dash engine, no. Realistically, no. I don't think I've ever run out of mana on this character. Like, most of your abilities, like, Overkill Rounds is the highest mana costing ability you have. And maybe if you're a really, really good shot and you're constantly getting thrusters off cooldown, but, I mean, it's only 35%, which means that you'd be getting, like, what? Between 5 and 8 mana back, which is not all worth it. Force Blessing might be good instead, but yet again, you don't have mana issues. Let's see, however, what else have I taken? Second Skin. Second Skin is quite good. I will actually recommend this one, mainly because, whatchamacallit, no, not Swiftness, this one. Mainly because when your armor breaks, usually it's at a period during a fight where you've been caught out and a lot of your abilities are on cooldown. So to have a small temporary buffer for the rest of your abilities to cool down, usually your right mouse fire and then either one of your dashes, mostly your jetpack, that extra 100 HP, I mean, it's not going to save your life every single time you go and get into a fight, but the times that it does, it is very refreshing to have that like extra half second or second of being able to live. The shop is not cooperating. Okay. Vibe Collector, I mean, maybe, but yet again, you tend to be in the back line or not directly in enemies' faces, which means you don't take a lot of damage. Adverse, same thing here. Amplified Haste, absolutely get this, like, very much so. You really need the ability Haste. Let's see. Amplified Mana, you can get. I mean, yet again, if you notice that you're having mana struggles, or if the fights take a frankly ridiculous amount of time, it could be worth it. But aside from that, not really worth it. Amplified Speed, yes. Yet again, it's the same reason that we're taking Bloodlust Boots. If we're faster to move, we're harder to hit. If we're harder to hit, that means we can focus on using our dashes to land slowing bullets instead of dodging enemy abilities. Or we can just dodge enemies, which means we can focus more on aiming. And the more we can focus on aiming, the more shots we hit, which just amplifies the cycle of this character. Regenerative Armor can be alright if you end up taking a lot of armor damage, or if the enemy has Armor Shredder. Let's see. Fortitude, extra 60 health. I mean, you might... If there's nothing else to get, you might as well. Glide Booster. This one can be good if you're playing with a lot of very fast teammates or characters that have, like, very, very good, like, very high mobility, because, it is kind of, it's not usually the best to use all of your dashes to get around the map, because you need them to, well, use the rest of your kit. So being able to just glide around faster is beneficial. Nocturnal, Recon Expert, I do like Recon Expert a lot, mainly because I personally like Scanner Wards, but also because it just gives you more vision of enemies, and it also helps you set up better, because having an extra 3 seconds to spot enemies before they shoot you means that you can better pick where your shock chop drone goes, and that can actually very much influence where a fight ends up heading, like if it happens over here or if it happens over here, and you want to be able to control the fight. So I'd say Recon Expert, good for that. Regenerative Armor, yet again, if you're taking a lot of armor damage, can be alright. Shield Generator, you have very little maximum HP, so not worth it. So, I mean, Swiftness is alright for the dash haste. It's 5%, so that's 0.3 seconds. Wow, that is not a lot. But, I mean, it's not terrible. And then Thermal Suit, I mean, it's alright. Actually, hold on. In terms of Meteor Souls, Devastation, very clearly 15% attack damage. That is a lot. Resilience, if you can find a way to get out of combat for a couple of moments, this can be very beneficial. Hyper haste as well, if you can get this, because yet again, this will drop your ability cooldowns up. This went from 12 seconds to 10.5, which is a lot. Hold on. I have not actually read a lot of these. Wait, hold on. And then, oh yeah, I suppose there are some just like... Okay, I think there's something wrong with my menu, but alright, anyways, let's see the rest of these. Fortification, not really. Teleportation, no. Truffle flight, no. Well, I mean, truffle flight, or this one, maybe, but true flight. Oh, it's true flight, not truffle flight. Right, that would make more sense. Phase walking, actually, you don't really want that, because jetpack, if you take the 4th tier on jetpack, it already throws you over walls, which nullifies this. Corrosion, yet again, if you want to be anti-armor, that can be beneficial. How about combustion? Let's see how this works. Okay, so the burning does not seem to stack with itself, sadly enough. I mean, it's all right if you can manage to hit like a couple enemies at a time, but 60 damage over, yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't think let's see. Yeah, I don't think I do not think combustion is worth it. Okay, yeah. Overall, let's see. What do I have set up for my build? Because I was testing this earlier. Right, hold on. Okay, so overall for the final build, it's going to be Long Claw Optics and Power Gauntlet for maximum just M1 power. Then you were going to take Harmonic Edge for the bonus damage, usually on your slowing shot or on the final shot of the magazine or on the first shot of the magazine. Then you're going to take Refractor. If you don't like Refractor, then you can, the second slot, I suppose, is kind of free pick. Last Bite is actually pretty good for this. But alternatively, you can take something like Sword of Seven Sins, or Viva Infuser is alright, but it's based on missing health, so it's only really good if you end up at low health a lot in fights, which you shouldn't because you're not a brawler. And as for perks, let's see, it is Armor Shredder, Contract Killer, yeah, so it's Amplified Haste, Swiftness, Contract Killer, Armor Shredder, and actually, hold on, this, then yeah. Alright. But yeah, anyways, that's the build that I tend to use most of the time with this character. Realistically, it's not the best for killing. This character is not meant for that. I end up getting, I'd say, about, like, 4 or 5 kills a game with this. But I don't really die pretty much ever. And most of the time, I can get up to 8 assists in a game. And I'm also usually able to either hunt down like low health DPS and soften them up, or hold them in place long enough for another DPS to arrive, or I can whatchamacallit, what is it, if the enemy is especially squishy and they're in a bad position, you can actually chunk them down pretty effectively. You'll notice this on either the supports, so like the healing characters, or on other DPS, like the Ice Witch, the dual the assassins, the mages, and stuff like that. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you guys think of this build down in the comments below. If you guys want to build for a specific character, let me know. I might take a bit because I don't have a lot of experience with some of the other characters, especially the like mages. No, I do have time on the mages, not really on the like assassin stuff like that. But yeah, if you guys want another build, or if you guys have your own build and you're struggling with it and you want to know why it might not be working, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll take a look at it and I'll see what I can do to fix it, or maybe see that like, hey, yeah, this part of the build actually goes against one of your character's passives, which means that you're handicapping yourself. You never know. It does actually happen. This game is very like this game is like that, where it is very much up to learning all the details and interaction stuff like that. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.